So, where do you think the whole idea of a sustainable forest came from? You might picture a national park, right? Or maybe some big environmental conference. Well, the real story starts in a tiny company town in Arkansas, a place that was literally about to saw itself out of business. Yep, this is the wild story of how a dying town basically invented the future of forestry.
All right, so to really get this, we've got to start with a super weird paradox, something that's happening right now in America's forests.
Okay, so get this. Why are America's forests actually growing while the timber industry that depends on them is shrinking? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? We have more trees than ever, but the mills are closing down, jobs are disappearing. How can both of those things be happening at the exact same time? And we're not talking small potatoes here. This is a massive deal. The U.S. forest products industry, we're talking a $350 billion pillar of the economy. It's a top 10 manufacturing employer in something like 40 states, especially in rural America. So yeah, this is a big, big problem.
And here's the number that just blows my mind. This really gets to the heart of the paradox. For every single truckload of wood we harvest in a year, our forests are growing back 1.58 truckloads. Let that sink in. We are growing 58% more wood than we cut down every single year. That's a huge surplus of trees.
So you see the problem. We have this growing, massive biological asset, and at the same time, a shrinking ability to actually use it. It's a huge disconnect. And to figure out how we ended up here, we actually have to go back in time, about a century, to a town that had the complete opposite problem.
Okay, let's head down to Crossett, Arkansas. Back in 1899, this place was the classic company town. It was built by the Crossett Lumber Company for one reason and one reason only, to chop down a massive, ancient pine forest as fast as humanly possible. Yeah, their whole business model had this charming name, cut and get out. Seriously, they didn't see the forest as something that could grow back. To them, it was just like a coal mine. You dig out everything valuable, and when you're done, you pack up your bags and leave a ghost town behind. And believe it or not, that was just normal back then.
So, surprise, surprise, after just a couple of decades of this, the company was staring into the abyss. That endless sea of pine trees, well, it wasn't endless, it was almost gone. And they had a choice to make: pack up and abandon the very town they built, or, well, figure something else out, and fast.
And this is where things get really interesting, because that crisis, it sparked an incredible moment of invention. Faced with a disaster of their own making, the company's leaders decided to try something that was, for the time, completely nuts.
They did a complete 180. A leader there, nicknamed Cap Gates, basically threw out the old playbook. They ditched the whole liquidation idea and came up with this new vision they called perpetual operation. The goal? To turn the forest from a mine into a farm, a renewable crop that could supply their mills forever, a sustained yield. The only problem was they had absolutely no idea how to do it.
And that brings us to the hero of our story, a guy named R.R. Reynolds. He was a forest economist, and the U.S. Forest Service sent him down to lead a brand new research station, the Crossett Experimental Forest, which was built on land the company donated. Now, Reynolds was no academic in an ivory tower. He was a pragmatist. He knew that for this whole sustainability thing to catch on, it couldn't just be good science. It had to make people money.
Reynolds' real genius move was this study called the Farm Forestry 40. It was brilliant. He set up two 40-acre plots to look just like the woodlots local farmers owned. One was in pretty good shape, the other was not so great. And he used them to show people a new way. Instead of clear-cutting everything, he practiced selection cutting, just taking out a few mature or unhealthy trees every few years. The result? You get a regular paycheck, and the whole forest actually gets healthier and more valuable over time. But honestly, his real genius wasn't just the science. It was how he explained it. He came up with this simple, perfect analogy. He said, think of the forest like a bank account. The trees already standing there, that's your principal. The new wood that grows every year, that's the interest. And the trees you harvest, those are just withdrawals. As long as you never touch the principal, you can keep making withdrawals forever. And just like that, everyone got it. It was brilliant. Now, here's the twist. The incredible research that happened at Crossett didn't just create one single future for forestry. Kind of ironically, it actually created two very different and sometimes competing paths forward. So on one side, you had what you could call the Reynolds path. This was all about managing these complex, messy, natural-looking forests with trees of all different ages. On the other side, a totally different idea was emerging from the genetics research they were also doing, the plantation path.
Think tree farming. Huge, orderly rows of genetically identical, super fast-growing trees. So it's pretty amazing, right? This one little research station in the middle of Arkansas ended up being the source for the two big competing ideas that shape our southern forests even today: the small, family-owned, close-to-nature woodlot and the massive industrial corporate plantation. Okay, let's jump forward to today. That idea of a perpetual forest, born out of desperation in Crosset, it totally worked. It took hold. But now, that very idea is facing a whole new set of threats and opportunities that R.R. Reynolds could never, ever have imagined. And the opportunities are just mind-blowing. We are in the middle of a materials revolution, and wood is at the center of it. We're building skyscrapers, ply scrapers, out of wood that actually store carbon. We're turning sawdust into clean energy. We're even creating space-age nanomaterials out of wood fiber. Wood is becoming this key ingredient for a low-carbon world. But, and this is a huge but, at the very same time, the one thing that all of forestry is built on, predictability, is starting to crumble. All this incredible innovation is running headfirst into a new existential threat that makes the old problems look tiny. I mean, look at what we're up against. Climate change is unleashing hell on our forests. We're talking more intense wildfires, new bugs and diseases spreading like crazy, droughts that are more frequent and more severe, and sea levels rising and literally drowning coastal forests. That core idea that a forest will just grow back like it always has, that's no longer a sure thing. And that means we need another massive shift in our thinking, one just as big as the jump from cut and get out to perpetual operation back in Crosset. The goal can't just be sustained yield of timber anymore. In a world that's unpredictable, the new goal has to be sustained resilience. We have to manage our forests so they can bend, not break, and adapt to whatever the future throws at them. You know, the pioneers in Crozet, they solved the huge problem of their time. How do you make a forest last forever? But today, our challenge is even bigger. How do we make those perpetual forests resilient enough to survive in a world that is anything but stable? The first challenge was about creating a perpetual forest. This next one is about creating a resilient one. The real question is, are we ready for it?